Welcome to Take 5, your 5-minute inspirational message from Solid Rock Drogheda. I'm Nick Park, and the other day I was putting my socks on, and I began thinking about when you put your socks on. It might be something you've never thought about very much, you just do it without thinking, but I've been thinking about it more lately because during the pandemic, at a time whenever I have to say I lost more friends than at any other comparable short period in my life. A good number of my friends in the United States died during the pandemic, not just of COVID, most were of COVID, but some from other causes as well. And I had a friend there who's a pastor who died while he was putting his socks on. He actually was getting ready for church on Sunday morning, and he sat on the edge of the bed, bent down to put his socks on, and he took a heart attack and died. And for some reason, that's made me just always think a little bit more when I'm putting my socks on in the mornings. And I was putting my socks on, and I was thinking about the fact that when you look at a sock, it's got the pattern obviously on the outside, and the pattern is brighter on the outside. And then if you turn it inside out, obviously with the pattern is depending on what way the sock is made. There's no pattern, or it's a lot dimmer or a lot more confused. And then as well, there's usually a seam. There's a raised seam that runs round the inside of the sock, round the toe of the sock, that presses against your toes. And that reminded me of a scene in a movie going back now 23 years. In 2020, there was a movie called Finding Forrester, it starred Sean Connery as William Forrester, a reclusive writer. And there's a young African-American boy, Jamal Wallace, played by Rob Brown, and he's a gifted African-American student who ends up in this private school and somehow or another strikes up a friendship with this reclusive writer. And in one scene, there's a conversation. Jamal says to William Forrester, "Why have you've got your socks on inside out?" And he says, "Yeah, I always wear them inside out." And he says, "Why?" He says, "Because the seam is on the inside, and I don't like the seam pressing against my skin. So the most comfortable way to wear a pair of socks is to wear them inside out." And I remember watching that scene and thinking, he's right. The most comfortable way to wear a pair of socks would be to wear them inside out. But then you're probably going to get people looking down and saying, "Do you know you've got your socks on inside out?" So the question is, when you wear a pair of socks, do you want to wear them in the most comfortable way possible, or do you want to wear them in a way that is for the benefit of other people? And you know what, I remember thinking about this as a kid, about curtains. Because when I was growing up, I mean, not many people would use blinds. Everybody had curtains. And the curtains where I grew up, they were always the same. They would be nice and colorful on one side, and then they would just have some very drab fabric, which didn't really look very nice at all, on the other side. And the question, of course, is which way round do you hang them? Do you hang the curtains so the nice, pleasant fabric is facing inside in the house where you can see it? Or do you hang it the other way round so the nice fabric is on the outside where the neighbors can see it? And there actually were people on our street who did that. They would hang their curtains so that they would sit in a living room looking at the horrible lining on the inside of the curtains because they wanted the neighbors to see how nice the curtains were. And it's a real difference in how you see life. You know, do you want to hang your curtains up so that you're living in a pleasant environment, or do you want to hang them back to front so that the neighbors are impressed by them? Now, there are actually good reasons why you should hang the nice fabric on the inside, because it gets discolored more quickly if it's on the outside through sunlight and stuff like that. Of course, the sensible thing would be if the manufacturers would make curtains that looked equally nice on both sides, but I guess that costs a little bit more. But, you know, for me, that brings down a fundamental a philosophy, if you like, of how we live our lives. Do we want to live our lives with the nice fabric on the inside? In other words, live our lives in a way that works for us? Or do we want to live our lives in a way that impresses other people, where we're always worried about what other people think? I would encourage you today, you need to find a way of living your life that is God-honoring, but that is a way that you can enjoy, because God gave life to be enjoyed. Don't always live your life in a way that's trying to impress other people, hanging your curtains the wrong way around so that you can impress other people. Don't live your life that way. Now, maybe I'm you know what, I've got a confession to make here. I'm still vain enough about what other people think that despite what I saw in that film, Finding Forrester, and by the way, that was there because that Sean Connery himself always wore his socks inside out for that very reason. I still wear my socks with a nice pattern outside for people to see. But I've learned that in my life, I can't spend my entire life trying to please other people. I have to live a way that pleases God, and that is a way that I can enjoy and that I can live my life to the fullness for his sake, in Jesus' name. God bless you today. May you live your life and live it well in Jesus' name. Join us again next time for another Take 5, your 5-minute inspirational message from Solid Rock, Drogheda.